What's up, everybody? You know who this is. C Mad Dog Madden. Please visit Amazon.com and get my latest publications. Don't Believe the Hype, the first revision. Ideological Subversion, the Radical Left's Plan to Transform America into a Socialist Police State. And From Columbus to the American Revolution. For all you history buffs, the true and untold story of Black America, 1492 to 1800. Go get yours today. I guarantee you will not be disappointed as to what you read and what you will find out. I said I was going to make a video today, and here you are. I upheld my promises. Just like President Trump. He upheld his promises. Unfortunately, there are people, both on social media, within the media in general, who I call the Marxist media, and those in the Communist/Democrat Party, who don't want this president to succeed in anything. As a matter of fact, the reason why they're doing this impeachment stuff is to try to get rid of him. See, they think that by impeaching a president that he will step down like Nixon. But one of the things that they fail to understand is that impeachment only works if you have the entire population of the United States aligned with actual, tangible, credible charges. But impeachment does not mean that a president leaves office. Nixon left office because he resigned, because he did not feel like taking the pressure. Bill Clinton got impeached because he lied to a grand jury, which allowed him to get his law license pulled. But he never left office. He served his term out, and that was it. Same thing can be said by like Andrew Johnson back in the late 1860s after the Civil War. He only left office after his term was up. So, for all you delusional leftists out there who think that, oh, we're going to impeach Trump to get his ass out of office and to reverse the 2016 election results, which it amazes me 3 years later, the communist left is still pissed about that. And that y'all will get rid of him is not going to happen. And there's a lot of people, including a whole lot of leftists, that don't understand, that actually pretty much pissed rather, that the ruling comrades of the left are trying to impeach a duly elected president for what? Because he won the election in 2016 against who they thought was supposed to be the leader who was supposed to destroy America and send her down into the rabbit hole of socialism/communism. I'll say Hillary Clinton. It didn't work. That's the reason why they try to impeach her, because they can't have anything, they can't find anything that Donald Trump has done. Now, I'm jumping on this impeachment stuff before I get to the, communism and socialism. I have a real quick educational point to that. Is that, first of all, for an impeachment to work, you got to have broad public support. So what the left is trying to do in the media, because that's their propaganda mouthpiece, is to instill and invoke a lot of hate, rage, and anger for the public in order for them to garner support to impeach Trump. So the next year, to the election is all going to be spent with lies. Lies, lies, deception, disinformation, and propaganda in order to get the full broad of the American people to be behind this impeachment stuff. And I'm here to tell you, it's not going to work. It's going to fall flat on their ass and they have nothing else left. Because their campaign slogan for 2020 is not for the little people about drug costs, about fighting the overdose crisis, or the border, which they are all about open borders. The left, operated by the Communist Party, pretty much throughout the entire world, including the United Nations, have thrown in the towel and says their campaign slogan to beat President Trump in 2020 is to impeach him. Now, in other words, those who still are loyal to the quote Democrat Party, they don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about how you're living. They don't care about how much you're paying. And they don't give a damn whether you live or die or not. Because to them, and particularly to the upper echelon, and you get ready to see this in a little bit, that you are useful idiots. And there's a lot of useful idiots that the Communist Party will exploit their emotions in order for them to push their agenda. And push their agenda is to destroy the United States of America as founded. And to destroy capitalism, free market enterprise. And they would do it in multiple ways, and usually using the media, social media, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Google, YouTube, and all these other organizations to lie to you, provide misinformation to you in order for you to support them. In the meantime, in their little world and bubble, they think everybody wants this. That's why they had the Russian collusion. That's why they try to get Kavanaugh. That's why they try to get, the Hollywood access, Stormy Daniels, and all this, because that's nothing Trump has done, so they have to manufacture it. So think about it. If they really had stuff on President Trump, why would they try to manufacture something? Because they don't. Now, that's my little quick rant about impeachment. I'm not for it. I'm with President Trump on this for 2020. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know who I feel. And y'all don't like it? Fucking deal with it. In the meantime, I want to explain to you what the left's plan is. And yes, I wrote in my latest book, The Ideological Subversion, exactly specifically how they're going to do it. Okay, my next book that's coming out outside of Black Confederates, yes, that's a book that's coming out, is going to explain using intimate details on how they plan on transforming the United States of America from a capitalist society to a socialist society like China, like North Korea, like Venezuela, like Cuba, like many countries in Africa, almost like many countries in the Middle East, where there are authoritarians operating every aspect or regulating every aspect of human activity within their borders. That's what the Nancy Pelosi's and Pencil Dick Schiff and Dick Turban and all these other Marxist-Leninists out there, glorious revolutionaries out there are trying to do. Yes, that includes Colin Powell. Okay? He's a fucking useful idiot too. Been there for a while. Now, I also want to address, as part of this, the NBA or any athletics under communist rule, because there's a little issue that the owner of the Houston Rockets had made a little tweet saying that in some ways, that he supports the efforts and the protesting of those in Hong Kong against the communist establishment. And then, just by that little tweet, a massive amount of these Marxist-Leninist useful idiot athletes came around, and this doggone some of the NBA presidents and the organization was talking about, well, you can't talk about that. You can't talk about this. Sorry about that, guys. I have a must be somebody from the CPUSA trying to get hold of me. Anyway, what happened is that you cannot criticize the Chi-Coms. You can't criticize the Chinese Communist Party. You can't criticize the Communist Party, because for you to criticize it, that makes you a kind of revolutionary. That makes you an enemy of the state. So, what I'm going to address is two things. One, what Marxism and the ideology of Marxism is. And two, how communism is actually practiced in different countries. Now, I could go on and on for a couple of hours to explain to you intimately how these things work. But as a broad view, I don't have that much time. I'm sure you don't have that much attention to even understand, to grasp the gist of this video. Okay? So, what is Marxism? Well, in my notes, I do write a lot. The definition of Marxism is the political, economic, and social principles materialized by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in 1848, as they wrote in the Communist Manifesto. That's the whole basis of communism from the start. It is a system of thought where everyone in society should produce goods and services for the society as a whole, and not for the individual selves. In other words, you go to work, you make money, you're making money to give it to everybody else, not to enrich yourself and make a better quality of life for yourself. That's what Marxism teaches. So, Marxism also teaches that to keep the so-called low-wage earner, or the poor, in this case, subject to their abject conditions, which they have been reduced to, i.e. low-income housing, high crime, diseases all over the place, is because the rich, evil people in power have created institutions to allow such living condition for the poor to work, to happen. Now follow me on this, okay? These institutions, which are called laws, regulation, religion, families, and social institutions, must be destroyed by the low-income population via a violent and bloody revolution or somewhat of a civil war, by using physical violence such as murder in order to level the playing field and force society to be equal and fair, whether they want to or not. Marxism, communism says you should work for the whole society, not for your individual selves. Marxists would tell you, hey, I got this doggone nice little Porsche 911. Marxists will tell you, you don't need a 911. Why should you? Why you have it? You don't need it. Somebody else needs it. And what that means, they want it instead of you having it. And you busting your ass off to get it. And it's based upon the 6 principles of communist revolution outlined in their book, which includes overthrow of capitalism, abolition of private property ownership, elimination of the family as a social unit, abolition of all economic classes, overthrow all governments, and the establishment of a communal order with communal ownership of property in a classless, stateless society. The last one you can sum up as being a perfect utopia on Earth, which has never existed and will never exist. However, in order for the revolution to begin, a series of steps must be conducted called ideological subversion or active measures to dismantle all of man's achievement thus far and revert back to a time where, according to Marx, capitalism didn't exist. Or in other words, 3rd, 4th, and 5th world centuries of mankind, where none of this technology was and that everybody produced for the society as whole instead of for their individual selves. So this is how delusional Marx was, because he was, first of all, he was a narcissistic lunatic. He was a pauper. He was poor. And he never did anything and never worked a damn day in his motherfucking miserable life, for some reason why he is in hell's VIP room. Hell, you're probably waiting for his chance to get the 72 virgins. He's probably been there a little bit longer than the rest of everybody going down there. They're trying to get the same thing. But I digress. In the meantime, for those who are advocating communism and socialism, are those people who are either followers of Stalinism, Maoism, Marxism, like I just read, or Leninism. The only difference between Stalinists, Maoists, and Lenins is how each of these dictators, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, and Vladimir Lenin, have created their own version of a socialist communist society based upon what they interpreted as the Communist Manifesto. Okay, in communism, only a selected few rules over the many. Okay, let's take China for example. Everybody talk about China, but China, with its 1-point-something billion people, who runs China? It ain't the people, it's the Communist Party, under who I call Mao Zedong. Only a certain few rules over the many. Because in order for full communism to take place, the state has to operate and control every aspect of human activity within their border, which is what the left in this country is hell-bent of trying to do. And President Trump and his supporters are putting a big-ass roadblock in their way. Okay, let me continue. In a communist society, such as China, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, there is no talk or protesting against the government or any of their policies. So take America here. We could go out and we don't like nothing. We could all advocate, get together, protest, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, to voice our displeasure with governmental policies or whatever. In a communist country, you better not. Because in a communist country, there's no freedom of speech. There is no freedom of religion. There's also no freedom of press or any jurisprudence in communism. In other words, there's no freedom that you have rights to face your accusers in the courtroom. If you've noticed anything about communist countries, what do they have in common? Where there's a lot of walls, there's a lot of barbed wire, a lot of electrical fences, and a lot of guards armed, ready to keep people in their country and to keep you out of their country. Because if you come over to their country and try to speak out against the government policies, you're going to end up in a gulag. Like that Wambler kid in North Korea. You see what happened to him. Those who are in opposition to the government in China, North Korea, etc., can be arrested, jailed, and in gulag-type camps. Forced hard labor in squalid conditions that make the homeless camps in America look like a Beverly Hills mansion. There will be no internet. There will be no TV. There will be no games playing. As a matter of fact, if you look at a lot of Human Watch research on different prison conditions, and particularly in communist country, they're squalid. You living in a 4x5 cell or 5x5 cell with very little mattress, no running water, vermin's all over the place, where you can actually be subjected to be beat up, not just by your own prisoners, but you will get beat the hell down by the prison staff. There are no rights in a communist country. You have no individual rights. It's all been taken away. Those who are in opposition to government or the almighty state, now I wrote this in my books, are subject to stand trials in open or publicly kangaroo courts, such as the Kavanaugh hearings. That was an open kangaroo court. You want to know what communists do? This is what they do. Go back to that damn trial in the Senate and look at that. That's what communism really does in their country. Really do in their country. You have no legal representation. You be charged with made-up charges such as counter-revolutionary activities or dissenting against the government, and you can be found guilty and can be publicly executed by either firing squads in open pit graves or buried with no headstone or hung for trees or utility poles out in the open. This is not hyperbole. This actually happens throughout every communist country. And you know the best people that can pretty much tell you these things are the people that served in Vietnam when they actually saw this firsthand. Okay? The state provides everything for the citizens, such as housing, even though it's substandard, food, which ain't enough, medicine, which is never plenty, jobs, which is plenty because the state runs the factories, and you're only making pennies with long work hours between 18, 20-hour days, 7 days a week, and you have to do that. If you don't do that, you could be subject to arrest and thrown in prison. You think this don't happen? It does happen, and there's no unions or collective bargaining to go along with it. Okay? Citizens in a communist country are systematic slaves to the state. How many times do I have to make a video on this? I will keep making videos on this. The haves are those loyal to the state and the Communist Party, and the have-nots are everybody else. There's nothing in between. There's no middleman. There's no middle class. You either down in the damn sewer or you're one standing on the road above the manhole. That's it. Nothing in between that. The state controls all institutions, all schools, the press, and news, and the state dictates on how they operate, what they teach, what they can teach, and what the press can report. Anything outside of these bounds, you could be marked as a target by the state, hence can be arrested, can be violently beaten down, shot, or even hung, or thrown in the gulag. This is not hyperbole. This is what happens. Now, for you leftists out there, I will continue a little bit more, but do you want to live in a society like that? Because I'm going to tell you one thing. Don't say it can't happen here, because it can, if you allow it to happen. Religion is forbidden in communist countries. There's no religion. That's why they are atheists. In China, Muslims are rounded up and sent to re-education camps located in the mountains and be forced by the bearer of a gun and direct physical violence to destroy their beliefs, or they're going to die. So you want to hear about Islam as the religion of peace? Try to practice that shit in a socialist communist country. You're going to die if you don't convert. Athletes, and it gets back to this NBA stuff. Athletes are controlled by the state level, regardless of the level, whether it be elementary, high school, wherever. And that's only if they have them. On the professional level, athletes are subject to represent the almighty state and win any and all events as necessary if they can. If they don't and they embarrass their host, their country, the almighty state who they representing, the athletes will be sent to gulags or re-education camps, and you will probably never hear from them again. And in some instances, you never hear from them again because they're all fucking dead. So to all you NBA, all you NFL, and all you doggone spoiled brats out there who are making millions and millions of dollars, if this country was to fall into socialism / communism, you'd be like everybody else, and you will be targeted for extinction, or what they call purge from society. While you add it, athletes get very little pay from the state. Because remember, you're working for the society as a whole. You're not working for your individual self. There's no need for you to play basketball, or you to play football, or you to play baseball, or you to play soccer, or whatever, or hockey, and profit off your own doggone labor or your own doggone accomplishments. No, none of that happens in a communist society. You just do it because you do it because you're doing it for the society. You're not doing it for yourself. So, which means athletes get paid very little. There'll be no multi-million-dollar contracts. You don't have your own lawyers. You won't have your own doggone representation. No mansions on the hills in Pasadena. And you will work, live, and train in squalid conditions like everyone else. And you may be working and training 7 days a week, 18, 20-hour days, and might be punished if you don't keep up. Oh, for you actors and actresses out there, and entertainment industries, you'll be owned and operated by the state. Any dissent to the so-called norms will not be tolerated and can be punished by the state. And what is that punishment again? You can probably get punished with your life. If you don't conform, you're going to die. Simple as that. There's no trials. And if there is a trial, there's no Miranda rights given to you. You don't have any rights to counsel. You don't have any rights to that because you have no rights. The state owns you. The state will control every aspect of entertainment provided by the people, and they will actually tell you what programs they want you to broadcast. And if you decide not to follow out that norm, you can be a target for extinction. Utilities such as sewage, electricity, heating, air are rationed out by the state or as needed basis, because in the state bureaucracy in the Communist Party has priority over everything that comes in that country. So they would get all the goods first, and then whatever's left that they don't want, they will throw it to the people. Well, the goods is always substandard and is never enough, so you have to create a huge black market for it. Because all of this utilities, electricity, and computers, and how you get on social media, just like I'm doing now, creating this video, in a communist country, this was never, ever be accepted. Because you have no rights. You don't own any property. The communist country, because everything is owned by the government. They will tell you what cars to drive. They will tell you how far you will go. They will tell you exactly what you can do and what you cannot do. You are subject to the state at all times. Matter of fact, people in major cities in a communist country will live on top of each other. And also, as people live on top of each other in these major cities, these doggone high-rise places will be very small. They would be segregated by culture, race, gender, male and females in the airport, because communists don't believe in homosexuality. Well, they do if it goes in the, I take that back, they do if it goes before communism. But homosexuals are used from idiots to push their agenda. That's what the left is trying to do. If the left was to turn this country into a socialist paradise that you're trying to do, the first people they're going to come after would be the homosexuals. History does dictate that. Agriculture will be controlled and commanded by the state. The state will tell you what to produce, when to produce it, and how much you can produce it. And if they don't like it, and if you produce it too much, guess what? You got to destroy it. If you don't destroy it, you're going against the government doggone policy, which means you can be charged with counter-revolutionary activities. There are no labor unions, civil rights, workplace complaints, or workplace organizations in communist countries. Communists are command and control freaks and will not tolerate freedom of speech or critical feedback to any of their way of lives for you. There's no sovereignty or individuality in communist countries. Why? Because they're command and control freaks. The object is to create a classless, stateless society, so where pretty much everybody be miserable as hell. They'd be equally miserable as hell. Okay? That's why, and they'd be treated, quote unquote, fairly. Fairly meaning by whom? If I treat somebody fairly, they'd be different than somebody else treating somebody else fairly. In the state's eyes, whoever treat each other, the state can treat you fairly in their eyes, but they can be fucking mass murderers. The state controls every aspect of your life, including having neighbors, family members, or even spouses, if they allow them to spy on you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 or 366 days a year. They can anonymously report you to the authorities if they deem that you are a threat to the state. Where are we hearing that? Oh, this impeachment of Trump. Well, that's a great analogy as to this little point. They want to control every aspect. I mean, even if they had to make it up. They can report you to the authorities if they think that you're a threat to the state, and they do not have to provide proof or evidence to back up their claims. They can say, oh, you're a counter-revolutionary, and the paramilitary police will come, arrest you, put you in a gulag, and will interrogate and beat the hell out of you. Without no Miranda rights and no right to representation. You won't get bonded out. None of that stuff. They don't have to create anything. They don't have to prove anything. All they can say is, oh, by the way, see Mad Dog Madden over here, he's a counter-revolutionary, really. But here's what's been happening. And they can just tell them. They don't have to have any evidence to back it up. And then bam, they can come to the door, lock you up. That's it. Great example of this can be shown with that guy Nakula back in 2010, 2011 or 2009, where he made a so-called Muslim video or Muslim play depicting the Prophet Muhammad. You see how they came and got him? Didn't have a damn trial. Threw him in jail, made up on trumped up charges. To you leftists, do you really want to live in a society like that? Don't you think about it. Besides, all the citizens of the communist country are not armed with any weapons. Only the government has weapons. Only the government have weapons, and they will use them against you if they feel that you're a threat to their ideology, to their rule of state. Now, in closing, I know this is like a long 37-minute speech about Marxism, communism, etc. Understand something. What you are being told is exactly what happens in places like Cuba, Venezuela, North Korea, China, Vietnam, places in West Africa such as Rwanda. South America is trying to bring their country into crisis mode so they can usher in this socialist revolution, if they have not already done it yet already. Because just remember, when Soviets under Lenin took over Russia over 100 years ago, the Bolsheviks versus the Mensheviks, the Bolsheviks were a small group of people of the Communist Party, and the Mensheviks was the overall people in themselves. The Bolsheviks, smaller, overruled the many. And guess what happened? Death, disease, violence, revolution, and all kinds of stuff happened. And the first thing that happens when a country goes into a socialist or communist state is that goods and services will be scarce. Inflation will increase. We're looking at inflation increasing overnight, like in Venezuela. Back in the early 2000s, inflation increased overnight to 1,600%. So you may buy this ink pen, this pencil here for what? Go to Staples, you might get it for like $1 or $2. The next day, you be paying $2,000 or $3,000 for it. That's what happens when countries goes into communism. It's called the period of normalization. I'll cover that book and I'll cover that portion in ideological subversion. And then mass starvation. So none of you leftists or Democrats out there supporting these idiots like Joe Biden, Elizabeth Cherokee 1024th Warren, and all these other Marxists, Beano O'Rourke, old Spartacus Cory Booker, who's about as timid as a freaking damn dog infested with fleas. You keep putting your trust in them, and you're trying to create this socialist paradise. I'm going to let you know now. First of all, it's not going to happen in this country unless a civil war was going to happen. Two, more people are now beginning to figure out that what the left is up to. And yes, election has consequences. And I just seen something today that Hillary Clinton is planning on running for president again. Let her. Bring it on. And she ain't gonna get very little delegates this time. She ain't gonna get no 200 and something. She might get 10. Because people are fed up. The actual people of the United States are fed up. Not the delusional communists and all these other people who have been brainwashed and suck up the propaganda and the likes from CNN, MSNBC, HLN, ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, NPR, News One, BET, OWN Network, and whatever else damn propaganda. Yes, and that includes Fox News. They're all getting sucked up in this stuff. Because a person that believes in lies are subject to their own destruction, and they don't even know. Let's see Mad Dog Madden signing off on this video. And yes, I know it's a long video, it's a long rant, but guess what? It is actually true. To the next video. I'll let you later. Peace.